She didn't realize she was about to be saved. She realized something was wrong. When the screaming stopped, the chains were still cutting into her wrists. The dungeon still smelled of blood and rust. But the guards were silent. And then a voice echoed through the stone corridors. Not loud. Not angry. Just one word. Enough. Ailira had been hanging there so long. That pain had stopped feeling sharp. It was dull now. Heavy. Which felt forever. Her arms were chained above her head. Her toes barely touching the cold stone floor. Every breath burned. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. Slow and steady, like time itself mocking her. She had once healed people with these hands. Now they were swollen, bleeding, useless. The guards called her the healer. They never called her by her name. Boots scraped against stone. Her body tensed automatically. Keys rattled. The cell door opened, and torchlight flooded in. Still alive, one guard said, almost disappointed. Another laughed. She always is. They don't die easily. A hand grabbed her chin and forced her head up. Tomorrow, the guard said casually. You'll heal a commander. Arrow through the lung. I can't, Ailira whispered. There's nothing left. The guard smiled. There's always something left. The door slammed shut. Darkness swallowed her again. She didn't cry. Crying required hope. Then it happened. The air shifted. The dungeon didn't get louder. It got quieter. There were no footsteps. There was no laughter. Just silence. Heavy footsteps approached, slow, controlled. The guards straightened. Fear replaced cruelty. Keys turned in another cell. A body hit the floor. And then she heard the voice again. You've had enough. No one argued. No one dared. The footsteps stopped in front of her cell. The door creaked open. Ailira didn't lift her head. She couldn't. Some instincts survive even torture. Look at me. The command wasn't cruel. That terrified her more. She raised her head slowly. A man stood beyond the bars. Tall. Broad. Wrapped in dark armor with no markings. He didn't need symbols. His eyes were pale and cold. The kind of eyes that didn't blink first. You're the healer, he said. Not a question. She nodded. His gaze moved over her wrists. The chains. The dried blood. Something dark flickered behind his calm expression. Why is she still here? He asked the guards. She's valuable, one stammered. No, the man replied quietly. She isn't. The chains unlocked. Her arms gave out instantly. She collapsed forward. And strong hands caught her before she hit the floor. For the first time in weeks. She felt warmth. Easy, the man said softly. He carried her out. The guards didn't move. They couldn't. The corridors above were brighter. Too bright. People stepped aside as they passed. Some bowed. Others looked away. No one spoke. He carried her into a warm chamber lit by firelight. A bed waited near the hearth. He set her down gently. She curled inward, protecting what little strength she had left. You're not a prisoner here, he said. She laughed weakly. I don't believe you. I wouldn't expect you to, he replied. He turned to leave, then stopped. My name is Kale, he said. The name settled heavily in her chest. And you, he added, glancing back at her, are the reason my kingdom has forgotten what mercy looks like. The door closed. Ailira stared at the ceiling. Clean. Unbroken. For the first time since she'd been chained. She slept. Ailira woke slowly. Not to pain. That alone startled her. Her body expected it, the sharp pull in her shoulders, the ache in her wrists, the cold stone biting into her back. Instead, there was warmth beneath her. Soft linen. A faint scent of herbs and smoke. Fire crackled somewhere nearby. She opened her eyes cautiously. The ceiling above her was smooth stone, unbroken, pale with age but clean. Light flickered gently across it, dancing instead of stabbing. She blinked, disoriented, and turned her head. A hearth burned at the far wall. Real fire. Not torches. A table stood beside the bed, holding a bowl of water, folded cloth, and a small vial stoppered with wax. Her breath caught. Her hands moved instinctively, rising toward her wrists, and froze. The wounds were still there. But they were clean. Wrapped carefully. Not crudely bound. Not sealed to hurt later. Tended. Alira pushed herself upright too quickly. The room spun. Her vision darkened at the edges, and she barely had time to gasp before a wave of weakness dragged her back down. She lay there, chest rising too fast now, heart pounding like she'd run miles. Easy. The voice came from near the door. Her entire body tensed. Cale stood there, arms crossed loosely over his chest, watching her with that same unreadable calm. He hadn't removed his armor, though the dark cloak from earlier was gone. He looked out of place here. Like a storm standing in a quiet room. You've been unconscious for most of the night, he said. Your body is still recovering. Alira swallowed. Why? She asked. The word escaped before she could stop it. Cale tilted his head slightly. Why what? Why am I here? Her voice trembled despite her effort to steady it. Why wasn't I left where I was? For a moment, he didn't answer. He stepped closer instead, stopping at a respectful distance from the bed. Close enough that she could see the faint scar running along his jaw. Old. Healed poorly. You were being wasted, he said finally. Her brow furrowed. Wasted. A tool dulled by abuse is useless, he continued evenly. My kingdom cannot afford uselessness. The words were cold. Practical. And yet, something in her chest eased. He wasn't pretending kindness. That made him safer. I won't heal your soldiers, she said quietly. The silence stretched. Cale didn't react immediately. No threat. I didn't ask you to, he replied. That surprised her. She studied his face carefully now, searching for deception. She had learned to recognize lies by watching mouths, eyes, breath. He showed none. Then why keep me? She asked. His gaze held hers. Because someone decided mercy was a crime, he said. And I intend to find out who. Cale did not confine her. That unsettled her more than chains ever had. When she was strong enough to walk, he assigned a guard, not to restrain her, but to guide her. A woman named Ceres. Quiet. Watchful. Not unkind, but careful. They moved through the fortress slowly. Alira noticed everything. The echo of boots against stone. The way conversations stopped when Cale passed. The way people bowed, not deeply, not ceremonially, but quickly, as if afraid lingering would draw attention. This place ran on fear. Not chaos. Order. Sharp, efficient, merciless order. He is feared, Alira murmured as they walked. Ceres glanced at her. Fear keeps people alive. Does it? Alira asked. Ceres didn't answer. They reached a high hall overlooking the inner courtyard. Below, soldiers trained in tight formations. Alira felt the pull in her chest then. Pain. Old, familiar. One of the soldiers stumbled. His footing slipped, and he went down hard, clutching his leg. The others froze. The training master barked an order. Up. The soldier tried. Failed. His face tightened with pain. Alira stepped forward without thinking. Ceres's hand shot out, gripping her arm. Don't, she whispered sharply. He's hurt, Alira said. And if you help him, Ceres replied, you will be. Alira hesitated. She looked again. The soldier's leg was badly twisted. She could almost feel it, the wrongness in the bone, the strain in the muscle. Her hands tingled. Healing responded to need. It always had. Cale stood at the far end of the hall, speaking with two advisors. He hadn't noticed them yet. Alira took a breath. Then she stepped forward. She descended the stairs slowly. Each step felt louder than the last. The training yard fell quiet as people noticed her. Whispers rippled outward like cracks spreading through ice. The soldier on the ground looked up at her, confusion flashing across his face. "Don't move," Alira said softly. She knelt beside him. Saras called her name once, urgently, but Alira didn't stop. She placed her hands over the injured leg. The warmth came immediately. Not blazing. Steady. Controlled. The pain drained from the soldier's face as the bone eased back into place beneath her palms. Muscles relaxed. Breath slowed. A hush fell over the courtyard. Alira swayed. Healing always cost her something. She pulled her hands back quickly, dizziness washing over her. The soldier stared at his leg, then at her, eyes wide. I can stand," he said, disbelief thick in his voice. He did. The silence shattered. Voices erupted, shock, anger, fear. She healed him. That's forbidden. She'll curse us all. Kale turned. He took in the scene in one glance. The healed soldier. Alira kneeling, pale. The courtyard teetering on the edge of chaos. He raised one hand. The noise died instantly. Kale walked toward her slowly. Very carefully. He stopped in front of her and looked down. "You knew this would cause unrest," he said. "Yes," she answered. "Then why do it?" Alira met his gaze. "Because leaving him broken would have been cruelty," she said quietly. "And I won't be that." The advisors exchanged uneasy looks. Kale studied her for a long moment. Then he turned to the courtyard. "Return to your training," he ordered. There was no punishment. There was no condemnation. Just command. As the soldiers dispersed, Kale bent slightly and spoke so only she could hear. "You've made yourself a target." She nodded. "I already was." That night, Kale visited her chamber again. She sat near the hearth, wrapped in a blanket, exhaustion pulling at every limb. "You shouldn't have survived that," he said. She smiled faintly. "I shouldn't have survived many things." He watched her hands as she flexed her fingers slowly, fighting the lingering weakness. "It costs you," he said. "Yes." "How much?" "Enough," she replied. Kale nodded once. Silence stretched between them. Not awkward. Heavy. Important. "My kingdom believes mercy makes us weak," he said finally. "They taught me that." "And do you believe it?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. "I believe fear is easier," he said. "And easier things last longer." She looked at him then, really looked. At the weight he carried. At the exhaustion beneath the control. "Easier doesn't mean right," she said. Kale exhaled slowly. "No," he agreed. "It doesn't." They did not see the eyes watching from the upper balconies, nor hear the whispers moving through the council chambers that night. Mercy had been seen. And someone intended to end it. The council chamber had no windows. It didn't need them. The walls were thick enough to keep secrets in and light out. Torches burned low along the circular stone, their flames steady, no drafts, no interruptions. 7 figures sat around the table. 6 watched the 7th. Lord Veyron did not look afraid. He rested his hands calmly atop the polished stone, fingers interlaced, posture relaxed. His hair was silver despite his age, his face unlined by doubt or mercy. "The healer has disrupted balance," he said evenly. "Fear has rules. Mercy does not." One counselor shifted. "The king allowed it." Veyron's lips curved faintly. "The king is still learning the cost of softness." Another voice spoke, sharper. "She healed a soldier publicly. People noticed." "Exactly," Veyron replied. "Hope spreads faster than terror. And it is harder to kill." Silence followed. Then quietly, "What do you propose?" Veyron leaned forward slightly. "She is the weakness," he said. "Remove her, and the king will remember who he is." Alira sensed it before it happened. Healing had changed her in ways she couldn't explain. Pain left echoes. Fear left traces in the air. That night, as she moved through the corridor toward her chamber, her skin prickled. The torches seemed dimmer. The silence heavier. Saras walked beside her, hand resting near her blade. "You feel it too," Alira murmured. Saras nodded once. "Stay close." They turned a corner, and steel sang. The first blade came from the shadows, fast and precise. Ceres reacted instantly, shoving Aelira back as metal flashed inches from her throat. "Run!" Ceres shouted. Aelira didn't. She couldn't. Another attacker emerged, then another. Faces hidden. Movements trained. Ceres fought like someone who had accepted death long ago, efficient, ruthless, but there were too many. Aelira backed away, heart slamming against her ribs. One man lunged. Pain exploded across her side. She cried out as the knife tore through fabric and skin. Warmth spilled down her hip. She fell. The stone was cold. The sounds blurred, steel clashing, boots, shouts echoing too late. Then, a roar. Not of anger. Of command. Stop. The attackers froze. Kale stood at the end of the corridor, sword already in hand, eyes burning with something far more dangerous than rage. Betrayal. Two of the men dropped their weapons and fled. The others didn't get the chance. Kale moved like a storm finally unleashed, controlled, devastating. When it was over, blood darkened the stone. He knelt beside Aelira instantly. Her vision swam. She pressed her hand to her wound instinctively, feeling the damage, assessing. Too deep. Too much blood. "Stay with me," Kale said sharply. She tried to smile. "I'm difficult to kill," she whispered. He lifted her without hesitation. This time, his grip trembled. They laid her on the bed. The same one. Firelight flickered wildly as servants rushed in and out, panic thick in the air. Kale dismissed them all with a single look. "Leave." The door shut. Aelira's breathing was shallow now. Her hands shook as she tried, and failed, to summon the warmth. "I can't," she whispered. "I'm empty." Kale knelt beside her. "Then don't heal yourself," he said. She looked at him, confused. "What?" He drew his dagger and pressed it against his palm without hesitation. Blood welled. "You heal life," he said. "Not flesh alone. Take it." Kale. "Do it," he said. "That's an order." Her eyes burned. Slowly, carefully, she reached for his hand. The warmth came, violent this time. Not gentle. It tore through her like fire, drawing strength from him, from the bond forming whether either of them acknowledged it or not. She screamed. So did he. Light flooded the room, not visible but felt, pressure, heat, force bending reality inward. The wound closed. The bleeding stopped. Aelira collapsed back against the pillows, breath ragged, alive. Kale swayed, catching himself against the bed frame. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then he laughed, breathless, disbelieving. "You nearly died saving me," she whispered. "No," he replied quietly. "I nearly lived losing you." At dawn, Kale summoned the council. They arrived confident. They left afraid. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply placed the bloodied dagger on the table. "Someone ordered her death," he said calmly. "You will tell me who." Silence. Then Lord Veyron stood. "You are letting sentiment rot this kingdom," he said. "Mercy will destroy us." Kale stepped closer. "Mercy revealed you," he said. Veyron smiled thinly. "Then strike me down." Kale shook his head. "No." He turned to the guards. "Exile him beyond the Black Plains. No weapons." Veyron's smile vanished. Fear finally reached his eyes. "You can't." "I can," Kale said. "And I will." As Veyron was dragged away, Kale addressed the remaining council. "This kingdom will not survive on fear alone anymore," he said. "Anyone who cannot accept that, may leave." No one moved. Aelira stood beside Kale on the battlements days later. The wind was cold. The kingdom stretched out below them, scarred, hardened, alive. "They will resist," she said. "I know. They may hate you." Kale looked at her. "I know that too." She hesitated. "Why do this?" He took her hand, not possessive, not public. "Just there. Because strength that cannot protect is meaningless," he said. She leaned into him slightly. For the first time, the fortress felt quieter. Change did not arrive all at once. It never did. Fear had been the language of the kingdom for generations. It lived in stone and law, in how people lowered their eyes and measured every word. One act of mercy did not erase that. It challenged it. Soldiers still trained in the courtyards, but their movements were less rigid now. Slower. More human. Whispers followed Aelira wherever she went, not cruel ones anymore, but uncertain ones. Some watched her with awe. Others with suspicion. A healer who was allowed to live was an idea too dangerous to trust. Aelira felt it in the way conversations paused when she entered rooms. In the way some servants avoided her touch, as if kindness itself might mark them. She did not force it. Healing had taught her patience. Kale watched all of it. He listened more than he spoke. Changed laws quietly. Removed punishments that no longer served survival. He did not call it mercy. He called it efficiency. But Aelira saw the truth in the pauses he took now. The way his gaze lingered on suffering instead of passing over it. The kingdom resisted him. And then something worse came. It began in the lower districts. A fever that did not break. Bodies that weakened instead of healed. Soldiers collapsing during patrols. Children burning with heat, their breathing shallow and fast. Aelira felt it the moment she touched the first victim. This was not a wound. It was rot. Something old. Something born from neglect and filth and years of punishment masquerading as discipline. This will spread, she said quietly. Kale stood beside her, jaw tight. How fast? Faster than fear, she replied. The council demanded quarantine. Isolation. Burning entire districts to stop contamination. Kale listened. Then he looked at Aelira. What will it cost you? He asked. She didn't answer immediately. Healing sickness was different. It took more. Pulled deeper. Took pieces she might not get back. Everything, she said honestly. The room fell silent. Kale nodded once. Then we do it together. They opened the gates. For the first time in memory, the fortress doors did not keep suffering out, they invited it in. The sick were brought to the halls. The weak. The dying. Those who had never been allowed near power. Aelira stood at the center of it. Hands trembling. Breath steady. She did not rush. She touched foreheads. Held hands. Let the warmth flow slowly, carefully, triaging life itself. The hours blurred. Then the day. Kale remained beside her the entire time. When she faltered, he steadied her. When she collapsed, he carried her. When she could no longer stand, he knelt so she could lean against him and continue. The guards watched. The soldiers watched. The kingdom watched its ruler bleed strength into something that would never fear him the same way again. By dawn, the fever broke. People lived. Aelira did not wake. Kale sat beside her bed as the sun rose. He did not move. Servants came and went quietly. Physicians whispered. No one touched her without permission. She gave too much, one murmured. She may not. Kale's hand tightened around hers. She will, he said. Not as a command. As a belief. Hours passed. Then. Her fingers twitched. Kale leaned forward instantly. Aelira opened her eyes slowly. You look terrible, she whispered. His breath broke. He laughed once, a sound rough and unfamiliar. You slept through a revolution. She frowned faintly. Did it hurt? Yes, he said honestly. She smiled. Good. Kale stood before the kingdom 3 days later. No armor. No sword. Just a man who had decided something irreversible. This kingdom was built to survive, he said. But survival without mercy hollowed us. People listened. Not in fear. In silence. This woman was punished for saving lives, he continued. That ends now. He reached for Aelira's hand. Not a claim. An acknowledgement. She is not my weakness, Kale said. She is my balance. No one objected. Some bowed. Others simply exhaled, as if something heavy had finally been set down. They did not rush love. They did not name it immediately. It lived in shared mornings. Quiet conversations. Hands brushing in passing. In the way Kale learned to sleep without armor. In the way Aelira learned to rest without fear, the kingdom changed slowly. But it changed. And so did they. Years later, travelers would speak of the fortress differently. Not as a place of fear, but as a place where pain was answered. Where strength learned to protect. Where a healer once chained taught a king how to rule without cruelty. And when asked how it began, some said with rebellion. Some said with war. But those who knew better said this. It began the moment someone chose to stop screaming. And someone else chose to listen.